Today, we're exploring a fascinating and powerful research method in education, the case study. This approach allows us to uncover the rich, complex stories behind teaching and learning, stories that numbers and experiments alone can't fully capture. Imagine walking into a bustling classroom. One student is furiously scribbling notes. Another student gazes thoughtfully out the window. A third student whispers to a friend. The teacher is multitasking, answering questions, calming nerves, and sparking curiosity all at once. The big question is, how can researchers truly understand this lively, imperfect, and deeply human environment? While surveys give us broad statistics and experiments offer control, case studies provide the detailed narrative, the why behind the numbers. They help us see education as it really happens, in all its messiness and beauty. Section 1. What is a case study? Think of it like this. Instead of flying over a city and snapping a wide aerial shot, you land on one street corner and watch life unfold. You notice the shopkeepers greeting customers, the school bell ringing, children rushing across the road. In research, a case study is an in-depth exploration of a single unit, maybe a student, a classroom, or even an entire school. It doesn't try to cover everything. Instead, it digs deep into one case to uncover insights broader studies might miss. It's the difference between reading the statistics of average student engagement and actually sitting in the back row, watching the hands shoot up, the yawns spread across the room, the whispers, the sparks of curiosity. One researcher once described case studies as standing close enough to education that you can hear the heartbeat. That's the essence. Section 2. Principles guiding case studies. Case studies are not just random storytelling. They're guided by important principles. 1. Context matters. Students don't learn in a vacuum. Their family, friends, culture, even the classroom furniture, all of it influences learning. A case study embraces that complexity. For example, a researcher noticed that students sitting near windows participated more in discussions. Why? Because the seating plan put quieter students together near the front. Context revealed the hidden pattern. 2. Multiple sources of data. Good case studies don't rely on just one method. Researchers might observe lessons, interview students, check exam results, and even read policy documents. This is called triangulation, like shining 3 different flashlights on the same corner to see the whole picture. 3. Holistic perspective. Instead of isolating variables, they look at the whole puzzle. How does a teacher's style interact with student motivation, curriculum design, and technology use? It's like looking at a garden, not just measuring one flower, but seeing how sunlight, soil, water, and insects interact. 4. Interpretive analysis. Data isn't just collected, it's a story waiting to be told. The researcher connects the dots, interprets what they mean, and offers an explanation. Imagine hearing a student say, "I love math when Ms. Lee explains it with games, but I hate the worksheets." That comment, woven with observations and results, becomes a key insight. In short, case studies are detective work. Clues come from many directions, and the researcher pieces them together to understand the bigger picture. Section 3. Why case studies shine. Advantages. Why are case studies loved by so many education researchers? 1. Depth of understanding. They don't skim the surface. They dive in. Instead of asking 500 students one quick question, a researcher might follow 5 students for a whole semester. 2. Flexibility. If something unexpected pops up, the researcher can pivot. Imagine studying technology use, and suddenly students start using AI chatbots, Now the researcher can explore this new twist. 3. Practical relevance. Teachers, parents, and policymakers often connect more with a story of one school than with a graph of 1,000. A vivid story stays in memory. 4. Theory building. Many big educational ideas, like cooperative learning or project-based teaching, first appeared in case studies before scaling up. In simple words, case studies make research human. Section 4. The limitations. But let's be real, case studies aren't perfect. 1. Generalizability. What's true in one classroom might not hold in another. A great technique in a rural school may flop in a crowded urban classroom. 2. Subjectivity. A researcher's own perspective can color what they see and write. Two people might describe the same class very differently. 3. Time-consuming. Imagine transcribing hours of classroom video or dozens of interviews. It takes months. 4. Risk of drowning in detail. Sometimes case studies pile on so much information that readers lose the thread. That's why many researchers pair case studies with surveys or experiments, striking a balance between depth and breadth. Section 5. Real cases. Let's look at some powerful examples where case studies shine. Example 1. Technology in the classroom. Researchers followed one middle school class using tablets. At first, students were thrilled. One boy said, "It feels like learning is finally fun, like playing a game." But another whispered, "Sometimes I just sneak onto YouTube." By observing daily use, the researchers discovered that tablets increased engagement, but also created constant temptations. Their findings helped schools design better digital rules, structured use, teacher monitoring, and app restrictions. Example 2. Inclusive education. A case study followed Lena, a student with special needs, in a mainstream classroom. The researcher noticed moments others missed. For instance, during group work, Lena was often sidelined, not intentionally, but because classmates rushed ahead. Her teacher later said, "I thought she was keeping up. I didn't realize how often she was left behind." The case study revealed small strategies, like assigning peer buddies, that transformed inclusion. These strategies later spread to other schools. Example 3. Teacher training. Instead of just collecting surveys, one study shadowed a group of teachers through a year-long training program. The researcher saw not just what they learned, but how they tried to transfer those skills back into classrooms. One teacher admitted, "During training, everything made sense. But back in my class, I fell back into old habits." This insight showed that professional development needs ongoing coaching, not just workshops. Example 4. A mini-story. The morning bell. In another case study, a researcher sat in the same classroom every morning for 3 months. She noticed that the first 10 minutes after the bell were chaotic, late arrivals, chatter, forgotten homework. But she also saw that the teacher used this chaos to build relationships, asking about soccer games, praising effort, calming nerves. The conclusion? Those messy minutes weren't wasted. They were crucial social glue that supported learning throughout the day. These aren't just stories. They're powerful, detailed insights that help schools make informed, human-centered changes. The case study highlighted small but powerful strategies, rotating roles, peer feedback, and reflective discussions that improved teamwork skills. This insight helps schools design collaborative activities in other subjects, showing that learning isn't just about individual knowledge, it's also about how students work together. Section 6. Conclusion. So, we've reached the end of our journey. We've navigated the landscape of case studies in educational research. We've seen what they are, how they're guided by core principles, where their strengths lie, and we've even walked through some powerful, real-world examples. But now, let's ask the most important question: what does it all mean? When we choose to zoom in with a case study, what are we truly choosing to value? The answer is simple, yet profound. We are choosing to value the human heartbeat of education. Think back to that powerful description we started with. Case studies let you stand close enough to hear that heartbeat. And after our exploration, we now know how they do that. It's through the disciplined application of those 4 principles. They listen for the context, the story behind why the quiet students sit together. They triangulate truth by seeking multiple sources, observations, interviews, artifacts, like a detective piecing together clues. They embrace the holistic picture, understanding that a classroom, like a garden, is a complex system where everything is connected. And they engage in interpretive analysis, weaving individual comments, like a student's love for math games but hatred for worksheets, into a compelling narrative of insight. This isn't just data collection. It's storytelling with a purpose. It's a commitment to understanding the how and the why, not just the what. Now, we were very honest about the limitations. The question of generalizability is real. The findings from the classroom we studied for 3 months are not a one-size-fits-all solution. And yes, subjectivity is a factor. The researcher is not an invisible fly on the wall. But to see these only as weaknesses is to miss the point. The power of a case study does not lie in its statistical breadth, but in its profound depth and relatability. A graph showing a 15% increase in engagement can be ignored. But the story of Lena, who was unintentionally left behind in group work until a simple, peer buddy, system gave her a voice? That story has the power to move us. It creates empathy. It sticks in the memory of a teacher, a principal, or a policymaker and inspires them to ask, how can I create more of those moments here? The impact of a single, well-told case study is not a straight line, it's a ripple effect. It starts in one carefully observed classroom, but the insights, the questions it raises, and the human truths it reveals can travel far and wide, influencing practice and policy in ways a broad survey never could. So, what is the takeaway for you? The next time you read a headline about a revolutionary new teaching method, or hear about a district-wide shift in policy, I invite you to pause and think differently. Remember that behind that headline, there is a very good chance it all started small. It started not with a massive dataset, but with a moment of curiosity. It started with a researcher sitting in the back of a classroom, or a teacher reflecting deeply on her practice. It started with a story. Case studies remind us that at its core, education is a human endeavor. It's messy, it's complex, and its most powerful truths are often found not in the averages, but in the specifics. Thank you for your time and your curiosity. Until next time, keep asking tough questions, and never stop exploring.